Hi, welcome to the Autistic Classroom. We are the AET Panel, a group of autistic young people aged 16 to 25 years old from across England. We're here to teach you how to best support autistic students. And why listen to us? Well, because we're the experts. Today on the Autistic Classroom, we have Ollie, Sam and Jacob, and we're talking about Principle 5, which is autism-friendly leadership teams. An autism-friendly leadership team is the senior leadership team that's actually knowledgeable on autism and one that takes an active role in ensuring autistic students are supported. So, we're talking about autism-friendly leadership teams. Jacob, what's important to you about having an autism-friendly leadership team?
One thing I think that's important about an autism leadership team, or autism-friendly leadership team, is that those in charge create a school culture that is inclusive and where everyone is valued in every area of school life.
At the end of the day, the leadership team are the heads of the school, the head teacher, it should come from the top down. So they need to be the champions of young people and act as a role model for the rest of the teachers. If the senior management team don't have a level of autism knowledge and understand how they can support young people in education, then how can they support their staff to facilitate that? When I was in high school, my head teacher had no autism knowledge and really fought me and my mum when we went in and explained what reasonable adjustments I needed, even though it's the law that I should have access to those, because she didn't see me as a problem. I was a straight A student, I'd never had a detention. And if she'd have been on the AET training, if she'd have known how much I was suffering non-academically, emotionally, and the anxiety I was having, school would have been 10 times easier. So I think it's really important that the head teacher, the senior management team, are the role models, because it comes from the top down. And there needs to be a level of accountability as well. So if teachers are letting young people down, if teachers aren't facilitating autism-friendly learning, if they're not making those classroom adaptations for people, who's going to back up the autistic students if the head teachers, if the senior management team don't have that knowledge?
Medium to basic, I think. Yeah.
It's usually the SEN department, isn't it?
Or teaching assistants.
Yeah. But even then, I think they only have a certain amount of knowledge, and that's very, very sort of, I don't want to say ordinary training, because it's kind of almost covers the whole basis of the autism spectrum, but it's not sort of relatable to the child or the young person.
It's it's not very malleable. It's very sort of set in stone in a way that doesn't really adapt to the child, which.
And there's the difficulty that if it's just the autistic young person's teaching assistant, if it's just their support worker that has the autism knowledge, what happens when that person leaves high school and support worker's not working there anymore?
Yeah.
What happens if a new autistic student starts who doesn't have that support worker?
Yeah, or doesn't have the same needs.
Yeah.
That the other pupil has.
There's no base knowledge there if you're only sending your very sort of, not low level in that they're not valuable, but low level in the managerial structure, staff to be trained.
Yeah.
Because it can never be implemented school-wide unless the senior management team have that knowledge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, adding on from that, it is important that the leadership teams, just school-wide, know the situations of the students and just the general help and support that they need on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, they will kind of go under the radar, or they'll kind of behave they'll sort of have a sort of shutdown or a meltdown quite publicly, and that will mean that they'll then get sent off the school premises because the teachers don't know how to cope with that situation. And actually it is also about the environment that they're in as well, which we will come on to in a minute, but it is not just about assuming that it is the young person who is behaving in this way. It might be factors like the environment, or maybe even what they're learning, and just general things like that.
Yes, a good idea for a leadership sort of, I want to say style almost, would be to approve reasonable, to encourage and approve reasonable adjustments. Maybe some set ideas that could be interchangeable. Have some set options available, so that the child has a choice in how the school adapts to them. In a sense, examples where I used to go to high school, there was in the SEN department there were like booths. So if you had a test, you could go into the booth and it was soundproofed, so it was just a nice quiet room to just focus.
Yeah.
Which was a lot nicer than the echoed like test hall where you could hear the ticking of clocks and the like.
Yes, and the stamping of feet and.
Oh, obvious, yeah. And with the teachers walking back and forth, it felt just very strange. Whereas in those silent rooms, it just made all the difference. It pulled me through a lot of those last tests because I had that option to be given a silent space to just focus. It was quite nice. It made all the difference, and it would be nice for things like that.
I had a similar experience. I sat my exams in a private room. I also had a breakout card, so if I was feeling overwhelmed, rather than asking to leave a classroom, I could just hold that up and I would be excused. But reasonable adjustments like that are really important because they are like the right of the autistic people. Those adjustments have to be made so they can access education. But it's difficult if it's sort of from teacher to teacher to have those adjustments be consistent. So I think it's really important that the senior management team are aware of those pupils' reasonable adjustments and ensure all staff members are aware so that they can access all aspects of education and not just have, oh, that one teacher's really good in maths but my science teacher won't help me out. It should be consistent all the way through, and it's the senior management team's responsibility to ensure that happens. My top tip is to listen to the people that know the young person best. That is, the young person themselves, their parents, and the teachers that work most closely with them.
Recognising the fact that each individual child or young person will have individual needs and individual wants, and actually accommodating for that just as general practice, but also that will make them feel that they can then go on further to develop their education within that controlled setting, because they know what they have in that respect and they know what they're getting, hopefully from not just from the actual SEN department or their teaching assistants who they're closely working with, but actually I feel like there's then going to be a more appreciative response to the leadership teams because they have that in place.
And I think a good tip for this sort of thing would be, I found it's worked best when people have just sort of addressed me as they would any other student in a, not so demeaning, not so talked down way, and to be accepted and to be spoken to in a sort of calm and nicer manner. It helps that information sort of process. I found, and
treating you like a human being
instead
of other.
Which would be quite pleasant, to say the least. If not a lot more.
Something we all thought was important, so a top tip from me, Sam and Jacob, it's not enough for just the staff working directly with the child to have autism knowledge. The senior management team need to have a working knowledge of autism as well. Otherwise, all support's only ever going to be surface level.
Well, I think it just gives the young person confidence in the fact that they're getting the best of their education as well, and also just making them, aware that, as I said before, they know that the autism training is kind of almost school-wide, and it's not just the people who they're working closely with, and it's not just that one maths teacher or that one science teacher who's giving them more, more support. It's actually everybody is catering for that one person.
In education, in high school, I didn't feel understood by my head teacher or by any of the senior management team really, and I reached out for help, and it was obvious that they just didn't understand. And it wasn't until the situation got really difficult and I became unable to attend school that they actually paid attention to the things that I'd been saying of there was a problem, that I did need support. So I think this principle is really important to me, because I shouldn't have had to get to that level of distress before someone would listen. When we're saying there's a problem, we're not saying it for the fun of it. They should listen.
Strong management means an understanding of what the people with autism, with that sort of disability, are going through, and catering to it in a way that is accessible for all. Because then if that accessible for all mentality is taken to the way of learning, it makes it accessible for everyone. Autistic people, neurotypical people, a lot of people's education would be improved with that sort of understanding. It would open up a whole lot more opportunities, a whole lot more potential for those sorts of people. I said those sorts of people, like there's a distance, for all sorts of people who actually attend those schools.
Yeah.
For me, it's sort of meant that opportunities are made available, that are just the same as they would be made available for anyone, but in particular catered to people who struggle more. I'm saying from experience as someone who has struggled and who hasn't been given the opportunities that, frankly, a lot of other people have. And with all due respect, I'd like to think that I have potential, and I'd like to think everyone else with autism has potential, has a great amount of potential. They just need assistance and guidance with that potential, because we struggle with getting it out by ourselves.
And adding on to that as well, it then just also sort of very we are going to sort of
It's all
go
right.
back and forth about this, but just like small achievements.
Yes.
They kind of just send the world of hope that you can do it and you can progress, and that it's okay to be a bit further behind than everyone else, but also then having also that knowledge that that everybody within the school is supportive of you, not just the people who are your teachers or who are your day-to-day teaching assistants.
You feel like the school believes in you.
Yeah, and that you can actually achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, because you have that basic facility of being accepted and understood by everybody.
And those small steps, as you said, they help build towards that.
Yeah.
They help ease things in.
Yeah.
And I think having a strong leadership team really makes all the difference with that. I chose my university based on how amazing the people in charge, the Vice Chancellor, the head of my department, were at making adjustments and making me feel included with my autism. Right from my first visit day, they'd arranged a separate guide with autism training to come and show me around the department. The person who did my scholarship interview was herself autistic, so she was fine that I was crying and stimming because I felt overwhelmed. And I've gone on to get a first class degree, and I'm currently doing a master's. And if that support hadn't have been there from everybody, from the people in charge saying, go, you can do it, we will help you make it there, I don't think I would have chosen to carry on to my master's. Having sort of the whole institution behind you, believing in you, is what makes it possible as an autistic student to believe in yourself.
Yeah, and also that doesn't just stop at school, it actually continues, as you say, onto further education, which is not just college and not just apprenticeships, but also university and higher education, where actually the institute is slightly different in terms of how it runs, but it's the same principles are being applied, essentially, that you are still a student and they are still the leadership teams who should be supporting you throughout your time at the university. Autism to me in education means a variety of different things, but it means that I can progress knowing that I can fulfill whatever it is I need to achieve with the right amount of support that is good for me, but also having an awareness and an acceptance from those who are working with me, and also being able to say, okay, if you're having a bad day, that's fine, we can pick it up again tomorrow and you will still do what you need to do, but it might just take you a bit longer than everyone else.
For me, myself, I found I'd compare it to something like tunnel vision, in a sense, where there is a strong focus.
Yeah.
Wherever that tunnel vision is, I can see it clearly. I can see it in high detail, but everything else around is a blur.
Yeah.
And if there's things going on in that part that I can't see, it's disorienting, and that vision is thrown all over the place. And long story short, if you put me in a classroom with a subject I'm interested in, but it's full of racket and full of distraction and full of images and colour, I'm not going to absorb any of the information. And I was labelled as a bad kid in high school because I didn't listen and I didn't take in information or write down notes, and that's because
You couldn't
couldn't
cope
hear.
with it. Yeah.
I couldn't cope. I couldn't hear
Yeah.
because everything else was going on at once. But I did have my interests, and for me it was mainly also theatre and art and the like, because I found an escape almost in expressing myself through putting on a guise. And stuff like that, and I found that very fascinating. And to see how other people did that, and also it was an excuse to do some fun exercises where I get to run at other people, so it was quite fun, and that appealed to me. But because it appealed, it struck a nerve, and I ended up pursuing a whole career almost in theatre.
Autism in education to me means being able to write a 5,000 word essay in a quiet room with my stim toys, but not even being able to write one sentence in a noisy, crowded, colourful classroom. My needs are different, and when they're met I excel, and when they're not I struggle.